to our online info session for the Immigration Legal Assistance Certificate Program at Ashton College. My name is Lindsay, and I'm from the marketing team here. Today, I'm joined by Marina, one of our instructors from the ILAC program, as well as an instructor for many of our immigration continuing education courses. Hi, Marina. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. That's right. My name is Marina. I'm an immigration consultant, and I'm also a teacher at Ashton for the immigration program.
Perfect. We're excited to have you here. We also have Demi in the back end. She'll be watching the Zoom chat, so feel free to put your questions in there. So there are lots of ways to engage with us during the session. And as I just said, we love hearing your questions. On Zoom, you can use the chat box. There's also the Q&A box or the raise the hand function. If you're tuning in on Facebook Live, just leave us a comment and we will be able to answer your questions live during the session. And if you're watching this video on YouTube afterwards, you can leave us a comment or anyone can give us a call at 604-899-0803. We also have a toll-free number, and that's 1-866-759-6006. On to our interview portion. So Marina, can you share with us a little bit about your career experience and your educational background?
Absolutely. So my name is Marina. My full name, Marina Snyder. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, or RCIC. I am located in Quebec, so I have both a federal and a Quebec license, and I also have a Saskatchewan license to practice immigration over there. I have been a consultant since 2017. Prior to that, I did other things. I worked in business administration, accounting. I have done other things in my previous life. And I myself was an immigrant in Canada as an international student so many years ago. I was a sponsored spouse, and that kind of all gave me a interest in immigration and helping people with their immigration proceedings. And that's what I've been doing since. Since last year, I became an instructor at Ashton, and I've been teaching for the CPD programs, and I'm also in the pool for the ILAC program. And what else can I say? Oh, yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Something I love about immigration specifically, it seems like everyone that works in it went through it in some way, so they all have that personal experience. That's something I find very unique to immigration, and that's really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you there. And, you know, I was just talking to a friend this morning who is of Canadian origin, you know, born Canadian. And she was amazed about all the things that I was telling her, because truly it's a world on its own. It's, you know, the little world of immigration. If you tell somebody who has never been involved, they have no idea what a status means or what a document, you know, what all the documents that we have to provide. They might not even know all the questions on the citizenship exam. So definitely a lot of immigration practitioners are immigrants themselves.
It's funny what you say about the Canadian citizenship exam. I don't know if I could pass that, and I am like your friend, a born Canadian, so that's
right. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how this program is beneficial for students and maybe what you think students will appreciate or enjoy the most about the program?
The things about this program is that, you know, you could go different ways about it. Perhaps you have an interest in becoming an immigration practitioner in the future, and this gives you the little bit of a taste for what it is like, or the information that, you know, what kind of things you could be learning or what kind of things you could be doing. Or you simply could just want to be an immigration legal assistant, and that's very fair because we need them. I myself, you know, have an assistant, and it's very precious, the work that she does. So, you know, this could be, you know, for different purposes. Somebody could be wanting to work for nonprofits that deal with immigration matters, and you could be working in there. So there's different uses for this program. It all depends on what that person is looking for.
I think it's always great to have so many different paths you can take. in the industry, and it sounds like that's
Absolutely, yeah.
something here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what are some of your expectations of students who enroll in the program? Say, how much study time do students need to do each week to be successful?
So my understanding is that for a part-time program, you would want to put between 5 and 10 hours a week of studies. That obviously that varies, the person's studying style, how you learn. There's different learning styles, and some people need less time, some people will need more time. Um, Obviously, when it comes to immigration, there's a lot of reading and a lot of legislation and a lot of boring things to do, so it really depends on your taste and how you learn and how you study. This is definitely a nice step before, if you want to become an immigration practitioner in the future. This is kind of the pre-step to see if you actually like it, to see if you could handle those forms, you could handle all those checklists, the government guidelines, things like that. Perhaps you already have, an administration background, and you just want to take it a step further. But I would say there's a lot of reading, a lot of trying out different forms, learning how the immigration department works and the forms that they use and the guidelines.
Awesome. I think we can bridge the question that we have from the Zoom chat and the next question I had for you anyway. So the next question I have for you is, what are some career options or typical next steps for students after they graduate? And then the question in Zoom chat is, how does this program bridge into an immigration consultant?
Correct. So some of the options for somebody that takes this program is they could just be an immigration legal assistant. So they could work for an immigration firm, they could work for a lawyer's firm, for a consultant's firm. It really depends. They could work in nonprofits that deal with immigration, with immigrants. There's lots of settlement agencies out there that handle immigration paperwork, and they're supported by either the provincial or the federal government, or they are just private nonprofits. It really depends on the interest, but there's just a broad of there's a large list of options that the person could choose. I myself, I have my own immigration firm, so I have my own legal assistant, for example, that will help me with filling out forms and putting together the documents and doing a little bit of setting up an immigration file that I will then process and submit to IRCC. The other question is how this bridges into the immigration consultant profession. At this point, you have to obtain one of the graduate diplomas to become an immigration consultant and obtain your license, pass the exam and obtain your license. And this program is sort of, what we have heard from students that take this program is that once they get to Queens, for example, they feel like they've already learned a little bit. They are not completely new to immigration law, especially if they do not come from an immigration background or from a law background. Because you could have had paralegals that want to become an immigration consultant. The paralegals will have, some knowledge. You could have other people that are immigration law related that are becoming immigration consultants, and so they have some knowledge. But you also could have people that have zero immigration background. So, taking this program as a first step helps you through the Queens program, because that would give you just a background. And there's also the fact that the relationship with the instructors and your involvement. You could potentially ask for a reference, an academic reference, which is a requirement at the Queens program.
Perfect. Hopefully that answers your question. Just want to confirm and just let let people know that the ILAC program does not allow you to be an immigration consultant or
Correct.
immigration lawyer.
That's very important.
Exactly, yes. So it's very important. We want to make sure everyone understands that. Like Marina said, we've been told a lot of our alumni go on to Queen's afterwards, and it's been extremely helpful doing this beforehand. And a lot of them have used ILAC to kind of tell them if they even want to get more into immigration, because as Marina said, there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of documents, and you may think you want to do that, but you might not know until you do ILAC, the immigration legal assistant, instead of going directly to Queen's. So that's a good stepping stone. We have another question I'm going to ask. It's, can students earn credits with a certificate to apply to Queen's for the diploma?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. You could get an academic reference because that's a prerequisite that you have to present when applying to Queen's.
Perfect. So I hope that answers your question, Simona. So the next one I have for you is, what advice would you give to students who are brand new to the industry or changing careers from something radically different? Big one.
Yes, that's a big one. That's a big one. You know, I'll tell you my story. I kind of landed into the world of immigration without really knowing what the profession was, to be very honest. I was working in Japan at the time, and my husband and I were ready to come back to Canada, and we were like, okay, what would I like to do? And I'm just casually browsing at UBC's website, and I found, what was then the IPP program, Immigration Law, Practice and Policies. But I had no idea. I didn't know what an immigration consultant was. I just kind of, this seems interesting. I feel like I want to work with immigrants. I want to learn immigration law. So I landed into the program. So you could be a person like me that just goes into it and like, this sounds interesting. Or you could actually, what does it entail? What do you do? So what does an immigration practitioner do? And as an immigration legal assistant, you would be doing some of those things or a portion of those tasks, assisting the immigration practitioner. We do obviously a lot of counseling. So we offer immigration counseling according to the person's context. So you have to have a good knowledge of the law and how to apply law to that person's context. A lot of the work is also practical, filling out forms, completing documents, completing steps, logging into portals, right? There's a lot of the practicality of it. And that's where the legal assistant will come in, because you would have the assistant do a lot of these things. So preparing, applications. So I'll tell you one thing, if you do not like paperwork, this program is not for you. Becoming an immigration practitioner is not for you, because all we do is paperwork, right? There is the legal side of it, which is, reading law, understanding law, interpreting law, and applying law. But there's also the paperwork side of it, which is what we do mostly.
I also think
Does that answer the question? Yeah.
But let us know if it does not. We can definitely speak more if we need.
Yeah.
I also feel like you probably need to be a pretty personable person that likes to be with people, since you're going to be talking with clients a lot, yeah. I would think.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to be willing to listen. It's customer service all the way. It's talking to people. You're in people's lives, basically. You're part of their lives. They, if there's an issue, they'll call you before they call their spouse. You're aware of their financial lives. You're aware of their history. You're aware of everything. So you're in their lives with you. You basically just walking hand in hand with that person through their immigration journey. That's really what it is. So if you don't like people, this program is not for you.
It sounds like a very fulfilling career.
I find it fulfilling. It's also stressful. There's the stress side of it, especially because you're the in-between person between an actual human with a life, with a family, and the government, and which is very dry, and there's, you know, very little feedback from it. And you're that middle person, you're that middle agent in there. It's very rewarding when things work and everything is smooth and everything, but there's the stress side of it where that person, that person's whole life in front of them, and you're the only bridge that they have. So it's both good and bad.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
It's a lot of work. We do a lot of work.
I'm going to take a few more questions from the Zoom chat, and then I have a few
Okay.
more on my side that I will ask.
Yeah.
So someone asked, can you utilize this certificate for U.S. immigration? I'm guessing no.
I'm assuming that not to practice U.S. immigration, but I'm assuming that it will give you the admin skills that you need, you know, completing forms, dealing with clients, customer service. There's a little bit of accounting, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the administration side of things, sure, that you could repurpose some of those skills.
But everything is focused on Canadian law, Canadian acts.
Exactly. On the law aspect of it, it's Canadian immigration law, which is very, very different from US immigration law.
Perfect. Let's see. It's quite a few, so I'll just ask a few. So what are, I don't think there's any at the moment, but I'm going to ask you, what other programs do you recommend besides Queens to obtain your immigration
You don't
consultant?
have any. That's
yeah, it's just Queens now.
That's the only one. I'll tell the story. We used to have the immigration practitioner programs, and they were spread all across Canada. And these were programs that you could take either at universities or colleges that were offering these programs. And these were prerequisites for you to sit for the full skills exam with, back then it was ICCRC, now is the College of Immigration Consultants. But the rules have changed, and the only way for you to become an immigration consultant is to attend Queens.
We used to have a really big one here as well a few years
exactly.
ago.
Yes. I have lots of colleagues that passed through Ashton to become immigration consultants. Yeah. I myself took the UBC program.
That makes sense. Yeah, so basically for everyone here, we took all that information that we had, all the amazing instructors that we had for our immigration consultant program, and have put that into the immigration legal assistance certificate. So there's a lot of the same great instructors from then that now do this program instead, and we found it to be extremely beneficial for everyone that still wants to get into the immigration field. So I'm not sure if you would know the answer to this. We'll probably pass this off to a program specialist, or if there's some information on the website for this as well. It's asking about the requirements to enroll.
Yeah, I don't know those by heart. Yeah, the person will probably need to look into admissions.
So we will pass. So Demi will get your information and pass you along. I'm not sure how recent they need your exam to be. I think it has to be more recent than 2018, but I'm not sure. But we'll get you passed on to program specialist for that. Another question we have from Kelly: are some of the classes recorded? As a busy parent, it may be difficult to attend every session. I would hate to miss something.
I believe the requirement is the same as the CPD program, so the person can still watch the recordings.
Yes, I believe we do record the, it's also instructor dependent, I think, for some things. Do you know, Marina, if some instructors do that?
Well, I'm not sure, you know, like I am pretty flexible with it. Like if the program structure allows for recording, and then students can watch the recording afterwards and let us know that, okay, I have watched it. We just have to make sure that within this current program that they can do that. Demi will probably be the person to answer that question. Yeah.
There might be some instructors that want attendance participation. Exactly. You just have to talk with each one of them to figure out what they do.
To accommodate. Sometimes people are also in different time zones, and that complicates things. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's see.
Yeah, Demi's answering classes are recorded and are available to the students for up to 7 days after the class. However, we do encourage students to join the class live on Zoom so they can participate during class. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks,
Yeah, and we
Demi.
also like to know that the student actually watched the
Yes,
recording. Yeah.
exactly. Awesome. So people are now asking about the Queen's program. That's something completely different. You're gonna have to go to the Queen's website to look into that more. This is for the immigration legal assistant
No, you can't.
certificates.
Yeah, I can answer the question quickly. No, you can't. You have to go through the Queen's program and then be past that to be able to sit for the exam. You can't skip it.
We do have an exam prep course for the RCIC,
Okay.
full sales one, and then we also will have one for after you're in the if you do become immigration consultant, there's an IRB specialization one that we are having a prep course come up as well. So if you
Oh,
do
that's
make it
great.
that level, we have a prep course for you. But for right now, if you want to be an immigration legal assistant and just try it out for a little bit first, this program is a great way to do that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go back to my questions now. I
Yeah.
really love all the engagement. Thank you guys. Keep on asking your questions. So I'm going to ask you now. Let's see. So what quality, you talked a little bit about this, but we can probably talk a little bit more. What qualities or characteristics make people best suited for this career path?
Detail-oriented people, especially when you're doing a lot of the legwork for an immigration application. Talking in the context of a legal assistant who is supporting an immigration practitioner, for example. This person will have to be very detail oriented because they'll be reading a lot of documents and then transposing information onto forms. Be really good at following instructions. I remember when I was a kid, there was they would teach us. There was this one exercise the teacher gave us, and there was a sheet that said, one, please read all the steps before doing anything. Two, touch your head, and then you see the kids going this. Three, pick your nose, and you see the kids picking their nose. And then at the very bottom, the last step was, okay, now that you have read all the steps, do not do anything and just turn your paper over. And that's really just the exemplification of this job or anything that is related to this job. You have to be really good at reading instructions and following them and be detail oriented as well. Also very patient, knowing that you're dealing with humans, knowing that you are part of lots of moving pieces. So if you are the legal assistant and you have immigration practitioners above you, or if you are at an organization that you work with a team, you're part of a moving piece. So you have to be a moving player, a team player, just kind of going in that context.
Perfect. Yeah, and as a immigration legal assistant, you're pretty much the bottom of this whole level of approvals and getting
Yes,
everything
but
checked.
you are what makes this possible, because if I send a package for my assistant to prepare, and she say she made, she got a typo on a passport number or a birth date or obviously I'll be reviewing the work, but if I cannot trust that the work is sound, it makes everybody's lives more difficult. It makes the process more longer for the applicants. It makes the relationship just chaotic. So it has to be a well oiled machine that just spins, and the immigration legal assistant is part of it.
Beautiful. So how has the industry changed over your years of experience?
Um, hmm. I think, in the sense of the whole immigration industry.
Sure, if that's what you like to talk about, or you can
Yeah,
change it to more, what's the demand like now for everything and how has that changed of
it's huge. The demand is huge. I guess, yes. I mean, the industry has grown. I could say that. The industry has grown. It's huge. When I became an immigration consultant, we were not that many. Like, you know, we have always been present. There is a whole history of how, you know, immigration consultants came to be and the different organizations, different regulators that we had for many years. But and there's always that kind of like, oh, but you're not a lawyer. We're kind of like this being that, you know, does not belong anywhere because we're not lawyers, but we have authority to represent clients in their immigration process. The industry has grown because of the demand. You know, year after year, the number of immigrants in Canada increase every year, and they'll just keep increasing. That's just, you know, the kind of, you know, the natural curve where we're going. Obviously, you know, the government tries to make things simpler for people, but when it comes down to it, it's still a complicated process. Even if, you know, it doesn't matter how many portals they create or how many guides they create, some people just prefer to have representation. Or they're in a situation that is so complex that it kind of requires representation. They cannot sort it out on their own. So it's the same as, you know, you could be doing your taxes, but you could also be hiring an accountant to do it for you. Or your situation is very complex, so you actually need an accountant because you wouldn't be able to sort it out. So it's the same, you know, it compares. The great majority of applicants, of immigrants to Canada, they actually do their applications on their own. But a lot of the times they seek assistance, or, you know, it could be just assistance or it could be full representation. And that's where we come in. And the immigration legal assistant is one of, you know, the elements in this industry. So the industry tends to grow. It's just going to continue growing. I don't see us stopping anytime soon.
And do you remember the time of maybe when immigration legal assistance became necessary and kind of came into existence? Because I'm sure there probably was a time when it was maybe just a secretary or assistant or not something specific to immigration itself.
You see, I can tell you when I personally had the need for it. I have a person that works with me that does the admin work that is, you know, contracts and invoices and bookings, sort of like a secretary kind of thing. But you also need that person that, you know, knows a little bit of immigration, knows kind of what the forms that look like, knows. So if I tell my assistant I'm applying for an open work permit that is LMIA exempt for a spouse, then she knows what section of the form she needs or she doesn't need to complete. She knows the information that she's looking at in the application, right? So if I tell her this is an application for work permit for an employer specific, so this person has been hired by an employer, she knows that she needs to look for an LMIA if we're not for of employment. So you have that, having that knowledge makes a difference. So it makes the work necessary. We need them. It's, you know, obviously you could have somebody just coming out of the street with an admin background. Perhaps that person is just an administrative assistant, but they want to learn. They can do it, but they're going to have to learn. They're going to have to learn the job versus you having somebody who just comes in, okay, I'm ready. I'm specifically a legal assistant. That makes the difference for us.
I think that can kind of tie into someone is asking about paralegal assistants and in terms of getting a job, what might be better, paralegal assistant or immigration legal assistant?
It's totally up to what you're looking for because paralegals have a broader scope of work. They don't just do immigration, but they could be doing immigration. This is specific for people wanting to work in the immigration industry. So it just depends on what you're looking for. I could be a paralegal, but I'm an immigration consultant because I don't want to do other stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah, there probably is quite a bit difference between the two.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
it's just the scope of the work is different.
that makes sense. So at the moment, we don't have a paralegal assistant program at the moment. We always have new programs coming up.
That's a great idea.
At
Yeah.
some point, maybe we will.
Mhm.
So always keep back, but the immigration legal assistant, if you want to focus more on immigration, is a great way to go. Another
Mhm.
question I have from Zoom is, are you able to work for the government with this certificate?
Um, it's not going to necessarily lead you straight into, there is not a immigration legal assistant job for the government, but if you want to work for IRCC, for example, and they require, some knowledge of immigration law, I guess you could say, well, I have some knowledge of immigration law. And it also ties in with administration skills. So you could use that. But obviously, it will depend on what position you're applying for and what the requirements are. If they're requiring a bachelor's degree, you won't have that. But if they're requiring some knowledge and some academic experience, you could fulfill that.
I'll just read a few of the career options other than immigration legal assistant that we have on the webpage.
Okay.
You can look more at that. So we have clerical assistant, settlement, agency worker, newcomers information counselor, refugee counselor, in-house company immigration assistant, federal and provincial government immigration assistant, and then there's just different names for legal administrative assistant as well. So I'm guessing all those are slightly different. I don't really
They're
know.
all
Maybe
slightly
you know.
different. They all have their own places to be. Absolutely. Yeah. Each you just have to go through the list and check the content and see what fits better for you.
So yes, I would say you probably can get into that if depending on your background. You can get
Depending on
into
your
the
background,
government.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for
Exactly.
sure.
Awesome. So what is your favorite part about working in the immigration law industry?
Um, I like that I get to make a difference in people's lives. Obviously, it could be somebody else, but it's me. For that client on that day, it's me. It's me helping them achieve their goals, whatever the goal is. If the goal is to obtain a visitor visa to Canada, or it is to bring their spouse from abroad, I get to be that person that helps it make it possible. So definitely the impact on people's lives. That's what I used to be in accounting, and I was good at it. But I felt like I was just typing numbers. I was, a little monkey numbers, and I was missing the human side of it. I was missing the I was missing the human impact, and that's what I got with this profession, definitely. And I like to think of the, future generation impact, because if I help a family immigrate to Canada, their babies and their grandbabies and potentially the other babies will also be Canadian, and they will, think back to a time, oh yeah, my grandpa immigrated to Canada and I'm the person that kind of helped. I can't say that I'm the one that made it possible, because they could have gotten somebody else. Um, and especially when you got somebody who's in a very bad situation and you help it sort it out and you make it easier for them, it's very fulfilling.
That's a lovely answer. Yeah, I definitely can understand the actually being more with people and missing that aspect. And yeah,
Yeah,
you are making a difference in their life. It's not that they could
I
choose
hope
someone
so.
else. It's you. It's great.
Yeah,
So I do just have one more question for
yeah.
Marina. So if anyone has any more questions, now is the time to add them to the Zoom chat or the Q&A box. Just giving you guys a last minute warning for any more questions. So the last question I have for you is, do you have any final words of advice or just any thoughts you would like to share with all of us?
Yeah, so if you're interested in this program, do go through the information on the website. Take a look at the content, take a look at the courses, and see if it interests you. There's definitely going to be a spot for you in the industry. And yeah, good luck.
Yes, good luck. I
Good luck.
definitely,
Yeah.
I love that. I recommend everyone when they go to the website, go to the alumni page and watch some interviews from immigration legal assistant grads and read some interviews and they'll give you a really nice insight into people's experience as well. Someone did ask the favorite question of
How much am I gonna make?
yes.
I think that depends on where you're located, province by province. I would say it probably compares to just a general legal assistant wages. So whichever, whatever you're located, you can kind of take a look at that. I do not know by heart what that looks like. It also depends on, your background and how much experience you have and what you bring to the table, or if you join into a small firm or a large firm, or if you're working for a nonprofit, it really depends. But you could kind of have an idea by looking at what a general legal assistant makes.
Perfect. I hope that answered your question on that. And I just want to thank Marina for joining us and sharing some great stories with us. It's always great. And if anyone else has any more questions, please reach out to us by phone at 604-899-0803, or the toll number again is 1-866-759-6006. Then you're welcome. The next intake is starting February 27th, so I recommend getting your applications in now if you are interested in this. And thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.